Good morning. We begin today with a significant development that's reverberating across the collegiate sports world and beyond. Today, we cover a major development in college sports, a decision that's poised to ignite debate and reshape policies nationwide. This isn't just about one university, it's about the future of fairness and inclusion in athletics. The University of Pennsylvania has agreed to ban transgender women from its women's sports teams. This marks a turning point in the ongoing discussions surrounding transgender athletes' participation in sports. This decision follows a federal civil rights investigation, prompted by concerns raised about competitive equity. The investigation delved into the complexities of balancing inclusion with fair competition, and could set a precedent for other universities grappling with similar challenges. Universities across the nation are now watching closely, as this decision could influence their own policies and practices. At the heart of the issue is the question, a question that has fueled passionate arguments on both sides of the debate. Who should be eligible to compete in women's athletics? This question touches upon fundamental principles of fairness, equality, and the very definition of what it means to be a female athlete. The federal investigation found, after careful consideration of the evidence and arguments presented, that allowing a transgender woman to compete, specifically in this instance, raised concerns about the integrity of women's sports, created an unfair environment for cisgender female athletes. The investigation highlighted potential disparities in physical advantages and the impact on competitive outcomes. Facing the findings and potential loss of federal funding, which is crucial for the university's operations and research programs, UPenn agreed to change its athletic policies, signaling a significant shift in its approach to transgender athlete participation. This story is about more than rules. It's a human story, filled with passion, dedication, and deeply held beliefs. It's about athletes' dreams, the countless hours of training, and the sacrifices made in pursuit of excellence. Opportunities, the chance to compete at the highest level, and the scholarships that can open doors to a brighter future. And the challenges faced by transgender competitors, who often navigate complex social and political landscapes in their pursuit of athletic participation. The decision forces a national conversation about fairness, a conversation that demands empathy, understanding, and a willingness to engage in difficult dialogues. Inclusion, the importance of creating welcoming and supportive environments for all athletes, regardless of their gender identity. And the future of women's sports, a future that must balance the principles of fairness and inclusion while ensuring that female athletes have the opportunity to thrive. We'll explore the layers of this debate and what it means for college athletics, examining the perspectives of athletes, administrators, and legal experts. Let's dive into the story that's reshaping the landscape of sports, a story that will undoubtedly continue to evolve in the days and weeks to come. The swimmer at the center of the debate. This is the story of Lia Thomas, a name that ignited a firestorm of discussion across the nation and beyond. Her journey, achievements, and the controversy surrounding them have placed her at the very heart of a complex and evolving conversation. Lia Thomas, a transgender woman whose athletic journey took an unexpected turn, thrusting her into the spotlight. She competed for UPenn's women's swimming team, a decision that would challenge existing norms and spark intense debate. This came after 3 years on the men's team and a period of hormone therapy, a transition that raised questions about fair play and athletic advantage. Her success, breaking records, shattering expectations, and dominating the competition, and winning an NCAA national title, a feat that cemented her place in collegiate sports history, sparked national debate, igniting passionate opinions on both sides of the issue. The media frenzy surrounding her achievements amplified the existing tensions. Some teammates and competitors argued she retained physical advantages from male puberty, a claim that fueled the controversy and raised concerns about fairness in women's sports, leading to formal complaints filed by those who believed her participation was unjust. 16 teammates sent an anonymous letter supporting her transition, acknowledging her journey and expressing a desire for inclusivity, but questioning the fairness of her participation, highlighting the delicate balance between inclusion and competitive equity. This internal dissent fueled the controversy, creating a complex and emotionally charged atmosphere within the team and the university, and led to a civil rights complaint against UPenn, alleging discrimination and unfair practices. The complaint claimed the university's decision denied cisgender female athletes fair opportunities under federal law, raising fundamental questions about equal access and protection. Lia Thomas became a symbol, a lightning rod for debate, embodying the complexities of gender identity in sports. For some, a breakthrough for transgender rights, a beacon of hope for inclusivity and acceptance. For others, a challenge to the integrity of women's sports, a potential threat to fair competition and established norms. Her case became the test, a pivotal moment that forced a reckoning with deeply held beliefs and values, for how these rules would be interpreted and enforced, shaping the future of transgender athlete participation in collegiate sports. The debate over her participation set the stage for UPenn's landmark decision, a decision that continues to reverberate throughout the world of sports and beyond. At the core of this debate is Title IX, a federal law passed in 1972. Title IX ensures no one is excluded from educational programs, including sports on the basis of sex. It revolutionized women's sports, requiring schools to provide equal athletic opportunities. But the law was written before today's conversations about gender identity. The key question now, does sex in Title IX mean biological sex, or does it include gender identity? The Department of Education's interpretation can shift with each administration, leading to changing guidance for schools. Some interpretations extend protections to gender identity, others focus on sex-based categories. The UPenn investigation prioritized protecting sex-based athletic opportunities for women. This legal ambiguity is fueling the current national debate. The agreement between UPenn and the government wasn't just a simple handshake. It was the culmination of a series of events, a response to growing concerns, and a formal inquiry into the university's practices. This agreement represents a pivotal moment, highlighting the ongoing tension between institutional autonomy and federal oversight in higher education. It followed a formal investigation, a deep dive into the university's policies and procedures. This wasn't a casual review. It was a comprehensive examination triggered by specific allegations and aimed at ensuring compliance with federal law. This investigation was conducted by the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, the arm of the federal government responsible for enforcing Title IX and other civil rights laws in educational institutions. Their findings would carry significant weight, potentially impacting UPenn's future. The investigation was initiated in direct response to complaints lodged by female athletes at UPenn. These athletes felt their rights, as guaranteed under Title IX, were being violated. Specifically, their complaints centered around the participation of Lia Thomas, a transgender swimmer, on the women's team. This sparked a national debate about fairness, inclusion, and the interpretation of Title IX in the context of transgender athletes. The government's investigation ultimately concluded that cisgender female athletes at UPenn were indeed placed at a competitive disadvantage due to the existing policies. This disadvantage affected their ability to perform at their best and achieve their athletic goals. As a result of this disadvantage, these athletes were losing out on valuable recognition, opportunities for advancement, and potential scholarships. The stakes were high, both for the individual athletes and for the university's reputation. With a substantial $175 million in federal funding hanging in the balance, the university faced immense pressure to address the concerns raised by the Department of Education. This funding is crucial for research, student aid, and various other university programs. UPenn found itself in a difficult position, facing powerful pressure from the federal government to comply with Title IX regulations and ensure a fair and equitable environment for all its athletes. The university's leadership had to carefully weigh the potential consequences of non-compliance. Rather than engage in a potentially lengthy and costly legal battle with the Department of Education, which could have further damaged the university's reputation, UPenn opted for a different approach. Instead, the university chose to enter into a voluntary resolution agreement with the government. This agreement represented a compromise, a path forward that would allow UPenn to address the concerns raised while avoiding a protracted legal fight. This settlement agreement stipulated that UPenn would be required to undertake specific actions designed to remedy the situation and ensure compliance with Title IX moving forward. These actions would involve a comprehensive review and revision of the university's policies and procedures. As part of the agreement, the university committed to making significant changes to its existing policies, particularly those related to athletic eligibility and participation. These changes were intended to create a more equitable and inclusive environment for all athletes. These policy revisions were specifically designed to align with the government's interpretation of Title IX, ensuring that UPenn's practices were consistent with federal law and regulations. This alignment was crucial for maintaining the university's eligibility for federal funding. Ultimately, the agreement allowed UPenn to secure its vital federal funding and bring closure to the case, avoiding further legal challenges and potential financial repercussions. It was a strategic decision aimed at protecting the university's long-term interests. But the agreement also established a new precedent and set a new standard for athletic eligibility at the university, potentially impacting future decisions regarding transgender athletes and the interpretation of Title IX in collegiate sports. The agreement outlines several major changes for UPenn athletics. Most notably, UPenn will now prohibit biological males from competing on women's teams, using birth sex as the eligibility standard. The university must update handbooks, inform coaches and athletes, and ensure recruitment follows the new policy. UPenn will issue formal apologies to female athletes affected by competing against Lia Thomas. Ongoing oversight will require the university to report compliance to the Department of Education. These changes are binding and mark a fundamental shift in UPenn's approach to women's sports. The agreement aims to ensure lasting change and uphold the government's interpretation of Title IX. The agreement doesn't just change future rules, it rewrites the past. UPenn will retroactively remove Lia Thomas's records and titles from the women's category. These achievements will be restored to the cisgender female athletes who were runners-up. The university must update all official archives and plaques and public displays. For some, this is a moment of validation. For others, it's a controversial erasure of Thomas's accomplishments. Supporters see it as restoring justice. Critics argue it punishes a transgender athlete who followed the rules. The retroactive measure highlights the deep divisions in this debate. Even the past is now a battleground in the fight over fairness and inclusion. Many support UPenn's decision, arguing it protects the integrity of women's sports. They believe women's athletics exist to provide a fair playing field, given biological differences between males and females. Supporters cite scientific data on retained physical advantages after male puberty, even with hormone therapy. For them, this isn't about animosity toward transgender people, but about preserving opportunities for female athletes. Female athletes describe losing out on finals, podiums, and recognition due to perceived unfair competition. Advocacy groups like Save Women's Sports argue that if women's categories aren't protected, they could lose meaning. Supporters fear that allowing transgender women to compete could push cisgender women out of their own sports. They see the agreement as a necessary step to safeguard the future of women's athletics. For this side, it's a matter of principle and fairness. Opponents of UPenn's decision argue it's discriminatory and undermines transgender rights. They believe transgender women are women and should be allowed to compete as their authentic selves. Critics say the focus on biological advantages is exaggerated and unfairly targets transgender athletes. They point out that Lia Thomas followed NCAA rules and underwent hormone therapy, which reduces physical advantages. Civil rights groups warn that bans like this harm transgender youth and send a message of exclusion. They argue that sports should be inclusive, and retroactively stripping titles erases the achievements and identities of transgender athletes. The call is for evidence-based policies that balance fairness with inclusion, not outright bans. UPenn's decision is likely to influence college sports nationwide. Other universities may follow suit, especially those concerned about federal funding and legal challenges. This could lead to a patchwork of rules, creating confusion and potential discrimination for student athletes. The NCAA will face pressure to clarify its national policy as more schools adopt conflicting standards. The UPenn case will shape high-stakes discussions about the future of college sports. The debate over fairness and inclusion is far from over and will continue in courts, legislatures, and campuses. How we balance these principles will define sports for generations. The conversation is ongoing and demands thoughtful engagement from us all.